So anyhow, Rocco and I were having a father and son chore day, because chores are the essence of life. And we started talking about an extension from last night's conversation about his journey for 30 years, a 30-year journey, and my 72-year journey. Look, I think is the hair gray? It's getting gray, huh?
You have moments.
How about that? Got a little silver thing going on, baby. Invest in silver. It increases in value every year as long as you're alive. So I thought I would say, I don't know if Trizzy Schmidt watches Facebook, but Trizzy, we love you. She lost her wonderful husband, my cousin Chris Schmidt, last week. And he was a great man, a Vietnam veteran, and a real powerful guitar influence in my life. He had an electric guitar at the Schmidt home back when Mark and I would go down and hunt squirrels at the Dearborn Hills Golf Course at Michigan Avenue and Telegraph. And I would absolutely stack squirrels with my recurve bow. Aim small, miss small, mystical flight of the arrow, samurai, vision of the path of one's life, which brings us to last night's conversation with Rocco.
We can put that there.
I can figure it out. And so we started, I'll get over there and snuggle with you. Get me some tape to hold my phone, because we're gonna do a marathon Facebook Live, kind of a jihad. You know, a jihad is a holy war. And I would like to think that when you fight for positive things, that it's a war for good. It's a holy war for good shit. Hi, everybody. Facebook Live, Uncle Ted. By the way, I'm sure you've heard by now, but I will be on Fox News Channel, outnumbered with Harris and the gals tomorrow at noon Eastern Time. And I'll be bringing my very, very accurate, ballistically coefficient crowbar of truth, love, common sense, and we the people logic. Hallelujah. I will be bringing that to Fox News along with my silver investment. So Rocco and I were talking about his upbringing, and I had started today's conversation out with a very loving father statement. I see all these behind the music shows, and the last few days of John Entwistle, and the last days of John Bonham, and the last days of all these people who did drugs and alcohol and tobacco and bad diets and partying, and they died way too prematurely. And many of the offspring of famous iconoclastic celebrities, be careful with the word celebrity,
Humans.
Humans that attained massive impact with their fellow humans and attained a celebrity. I think great welders should be the greatest celebrities. They are for me.
Publicly celebrated entities.
Yes, and people.
Humans.
And a lot of the last days of some of these sons and daughters of famous people, they lamented how they just couldn't match the image of my dad. He was the world's greatest drummer, and I'll never be that. No, hey, I said, Rocco, nobody, not you, nobody, has any obligation, duty, or consideration whatsoever to match the impact, success, notoriety, or reputation of anybody. You have no reason, I can't think of any logical reason, why I would want to beat my dad at managing a Swedish steel company, or, you're coming in a second here, or that you see the power of a rock star, Steven Tyler, or Sammy Hagar, or Ted Nugent, dare I say, and the offspring should only look at that as, geez, really got a nice touch, a nice talent. He worked hard, because I know anybody who achieved success did work hard. But I have to choose my own path in life, virtually removed from, on levels of success, from my family members or the neighbor or a famous trumpet player or anybody else. You're setting the bar for your happiness comes from your individual heart. And Rocco responded, and I'll let him elaborate, that there was a time in his youth where he didn't know that. He knows it now, and he's known it for a long time. You don't have to achieve my level of anything. You're a better archer than I am.
On days.
Some days. And Rocco responded that there was a time where he was confused and thought that maybe he should attain the power of this wild man on stage. Is that an accurate identity?
It's a beautiful introductory soliloquy, and the ledge that I feel was the perfect entrance to what I was saying was how you said you can't see any logic. You said you couldn't see any logic behind that idea, and I would say that that's the actual point, is that it's not logical, it's not rational, but it's extremely emotional when some people feel a pressure from someone nearby them to, whether it's replicate that or use that as a barometer, as some kind of measuring device for their own level of self-security, confidence, social
Happiness.
Whatever it is, happiness. It can be and this is where my teaching kind of points at the metaphysical reason that it's so grabbing for some people, is that it's like a mirror. It's like a mirror that you see something in this person that often it causes us to look at ourselves, and there's often not a healthy degree of integration of why that person inspires someone to do something. So instead of an inspiration from a healthy place, it can become a comparison mechanism of the psyche. It can become a competition mechanism of the ego gets triggered and says, well, I gotta do. And as a young boy, I was really, for the life of me, I just wanted to be Rocco, and everybody seemed to care way less about the word Rocco than they did about the word Nugent.
Yeah.
And it drove me insatiably to then I'm gonna make that word mean something else. It'll be me.
And that was before you were educated, knowledgeable,
metaphysically.
On every level, I believe, to know that, yeah, that's my dad. He's a wild man and he plays a hell of a guitar, but it's great. I love when he does that. It has nothing to do with me, because as a young age, you're not allowed to become cocky and defiant against things that don't make sense. Plus, as a young age, you don't know what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. So you, I think, mistakenly responded in a way where, like you just said, you're going to try to achieve that Nugent thing. And that was in your preteen years, but into your teenage years, you think?
I'd say I would say it's a real issue of misidentification. These dogs have no misidentification ever. But what I've found is the kind of main culprit is the mind. The human mind gets confused as to what it is or who it is. Coco's never confused.
No, Coco loves her daddy. I got to show him Coco.
Yes.
Coco Mocha. She loves her dad. I'm glad we had that conversation.
Me too. You were about to enter into a nice pointing of someone that had a green beret.
Oh yeah, I made the ultimate analogy and comparison that I'm not going to mention his name, but a great hero warrior, an absolute warrior who attained the incredible accomplishment of United States Green Beret. And he came from a ramshackle home. I think it was a trailer. Nothing wrong with the trailer, as long as you're neat and hygienic. Not saying that trailer people aren't, but you know what I'm talking about. And he attained a level of warrior samurai supremacy as a U.S. Green Beret, even though his mom and dad were drug addicts, alcoholics, and criminals. So he could have gone, well, this is the environment I was in, so I didn't have a chance. So that's what I was taught, so that's why I ended up in prison selling drugs. No, he became a Green Beret. He got his middle finger on fire and said, wait a minute, it's not them, it's me. And if I have a family that supports me, great. But if I don't, I can do it anyway.
Let me propose a kind of subtle tapestry of a question. What is the difference between person A and person B that sees that environment that's unhealthy and becomes more like it versus one that becomes the antithesis of it because it's what they ultimately don't want? What's that in your lens? What causes that?
You're asking the right guy, because my mom and dad were alcoholics. I didn't know they were alcoholics when they were alcoholic. I thought they just had a Tom Collins every night. Whatever the hell that is, or a martini with olives. I like the olives.
I like Phil Collins.
So my mom and dad were smoking, drinking, alcoholics. And I was surrounded in the rock and roll world by smoking, drinking, drugged idiots. So my answer to your question, what's the difference between a person that falls for that versus a person who defies that? I haven't the faintest idea, because I think God gave all of us everything we need. Some people look for an easy way out, and some people don't. I didn't. I think it was just shit luck, because my brothers and sisters smoked
Could you say
and
instead
drank, and they didn't even surround themselves with goofball rock and roll dirtbags. I did.
Could you say the word luck could be superimposed with grace?
Well,
Because luck is like chance, but grace, like you cultivated some shit. You swept the garages. You told me these orchestrations of your will towards manifesting something that you wanted. You went from the hunting to the playing. You bred a certain environment around you, and then there was luck, or you could call chance kind of assisted you, but
I don't know. I don't know what makes a guy that can just, like Ed Bilderback, the great Ed Bilderback. If you look at the videos of Fred Bear shooting that famous world record brown bear on Wide Bay from behind that rock, Ed Bilderback was his guide. And I got to hang out with Ed Bilderback. In fact, I was just on with Donnie Bilderback, his daughter, and his grandson is coming here Friday.
Jesse LeBeau.
Jesse LeBeau. So Ed Bilderback, Fred Bear was what we thought was the greatest archer, the greatest hunter in the world. And Fred Bear told me, he went, no, Ed Bilderback. Ed Bilderback had a gift. He picked up my bow the first time I ever went to Alaska, and Fred said he outshot me 3 arrows later. So I can't sing like Whitney Houston. Can you?
No.
Can you jump like Michael Jordan?
No.
I can't jump like Michael Jordan. I can't do that funny, adventurous, unprecedented guitar neck tapping like Eddie Van Halen. Well, actually, I can. I did it on the solo "Come Again" with the damn Yankees. I did it, but not like Eddie. Eddie had an Eddie thing, and Billy Gibbons has a Billy Gibbons thing, and I have a Ted Nugent thing, and Joe Perry has a Joe Perry thing. So it goes all the way back to the circle. I don't have to aspire to anybody else's level. I have to aspire to my best level
Of your own internal ability.
Yes.
Let me prose something that I feel you'd agree with, and it's what I have cultivated into a teaching that you've heard me talk about called Moon. Missing out on nothing. When someone,
missing out, that's my life.
That's your life.
I have missed out on nothing.
And we've talked about that guy a lot.
Yes, Bruce Lee. I don't think he missed out. Well, actually, he might have. He was so consumed. It's a difference between focused and consumed.
Well, so let me prose this idea, and let me know if it sounds like something agreeable to you as a theory to potentially begin to answer this incredible mystery as to why some and why some don't.
Yep.
Our external reality is like a mirror for our internal reality. And if we take that moment to align things internally first, you get in tune with your own health, your own happiness, your own joy, then the outer world is just informing you with context, but it's still coming from within. If you over-identify with that outer reflection, you can stop cultivating that inner garden. So when someone outside of us, I'm sure happened to you as a young boy, you wanted to play like those guys, you didn't want to play like those guys. Mm-hmm. You saw the drunk and fumbly, you didn't want that. Mm-hmm. You saw the clean, articulate, probably military people. I'm sure you got affected by somebody young and you're like, whoa, they were sharp, they were a laser
tuned
beam.
in, yeah.
And you're like, I want that. So we get I'd say they're positive and negative inspirations that are in my lens, they're like a mirror. They're like, oh wow, I see a part of myself in that. But the last piece of the puzzle is, as you're kind of saying, and it's not on me to, be more Nugentian than this Nugentian. It's to find my unique soliloquy, not to compare, not to compete with, but to find my own unique expression of the Creator.
Yep.
And allow your inspiration to inspire, but not deflate or not cause me to compare and compete.
I think you're very correct, but I'm going to throw a grenade in that theory.
I love that.
You ready?
I love that about you.
You ready for the grenade?
Please.
Keith Richards, one of the most powerful influences in my life, and if that's the mirror, I failed miserably.
Why?
All because he's a walking chemical dump.
But
always stoned, but he's so deep. I was going to use the word spiritual. I don't know. That's up to him. But so grinding and emotion and authoritative in his musicality that most of my influences got high right in front of me. And I admired the living shit out of them. The MC5, they were all stumbling, puking, stupid, drunken, stoned, and I admired them beyond description.
Aspects of them.
Yes, but the aspects while they were wrecked.
But it was.
But then it caught up with them, and I said, "Oh, thank God I didn't go. Hey, they're smoking a lot of hashish, and they're just kicking out the jams. And maybe I'll try that hashish." Luckily, I didn't.
So you had discernment of what was relevant for your inspiration versus the other components that didn't feel right for you.
Luckily, I watched them blow up. I watched the drugs and alcohol destroy the energy that I admired, destroy the groove that I admired. And to this day, Wayne Kramer's a dear friend of mine. Wayne, I love you, buddy. And he knows I love him. And we have great conversations, and he's probably polar opposite of my ideologies. But not really, because he has a work ethic, and he's a family guy. He's a loving guy. He's a productive guy. He's a conscientious guy. He's a caring guy. But I think to this day, he thinks that dope is essential. I don't want to presume. I had a conversation with him not that long ago where we disagreed on the use of marijuana and other intoxicants, or whatever category you want to put him in. So it's funny that, yes, life can be a mirror to a great degree. So thank God my Uncle John, clean and sober, though again, they all did the Tom Collins thing, which again, a Tom Collins is probably, a single Tom Collins, whatever that is, or a martini, is probably better for you than a Coca-Cola. Probably a little alcohol and whatever else that goes into that stuff is I'm guessing here, is probably better than all that sugar. The point being is that lucky me, I could differentiate between the delivery of the things I admired versus the occasional and more often than not conduct of those that I admired. Jimi Hendrix offered me his drugs, and I said no. John Belushi offered me his drugs. I said no. Keith Moon offered me his drugs and alcohol. I said no. Bon Scott offered me his drugs and alcohol. I said no. I said no to everybody.
So for me, the word luck goes to some kind of interesting Roman Catholic Irish kind of like colloquialism that it dissolves the potency of just recognizing that we're blessed. From our source, from which we come from, we've been given for whatever reason, we've been given some kind of point in our system that says no to something, and that's some kind of blessing. That's could have been in a different way.
You want a colloquialism that sums up this conversation, because it's time to sum up this conversation. Are you guys still with me on Facebook? How many people do we have here? Look at all hearts. That means they love this stuff. Yes. What's the blue stuff?
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Thumbs up, motherfucker. Anyhow. This is the colloquialism that summarizes everything.
Yes.
You make your own luck.
Yes.
Conscientiousness, management of time and priorities, compartmentalizing emotion so that it serves you well instead of distracts you. Compartmentalizing your emotion so it serves you instead of distracts you. Somebody write that down and send that to me. I'm going to put that on the wall. Anyhow, I love you people out there on Facebook. I love my son Rocco. I love Coco and Sadie and Happy, and I love Shemaine so much. I could leave a mess trying to explain it. But anyhow, I love you people who come to the Spirit Campfire. I will see you on Fox News with the girls on Outnumbered tomorrow. I've been outnumbered all my life. I enjoy being outnumbered. As Chesty Puller said, holy shit, the enemy's behind us, to the right, to the left, and in front of us. Great! We got them surrounded!
Thank you for this conversation. More like it very soon. Blessings.
Chesty Puller.
Chesty Pull.
Never forget Chesty.
Never.